Well, one sci-fi film that really surprised me when I saw it and I loved it. And I was quite young back then. Was Gattaca. I thought it was absolutely brilliant because the sci-fi in that movie is completely on the periphery, and I mean it's at the core of the concept, but ultimately it's a story about you know defying what fate people have sought out for you, and going beyond people's expectations. And I mean it's a wonderful film, isn't it? So that I think had a big influence on me to see that someone was approaching the genre in a non-traditional way. There were no laser weapons and car chases or anything like that. It was a purely character-driven sci-fi film.
That you could get emotional about, I think that's a key factor. I think you don't. The interesting thing about sci-fi, and there's actually been quite a few recent films that are pushing the boundaries between what is permissible in the sci-fi. Traditionally, I guess certain sci-fi films didn't have that agenda, that ability. But for example, films like Midnight Special, to me, break new ground in the fact that they can really have strong emotional impulses at the centre, and they can function both as a drama and also as a sci-fi, which of course should be the case. We should be able to make dramatic sci-fis. That was a very interesting. It was also a chase film. It straddled a lot of different genres, and I felt that gave it a really unique edge. And also, to a great extent, Arrival, which had so many of the classical trappings, things like Close Encounters of the Third Kind and wonderful older films. It actually addressed a lot of the questions that Jorg was talking about in Gattaca, genetic questions, the role of science, the role of medicine, the role of, if we could know the future. Very, very interesting philosophical questions, and I think Arrival did that absolutely beautifully, and yet had a monster.
Yeah.
An almost amusing monster.
At first I was like, oh my god, this is like a really pretentious version of Independence Day. And then it really grows on you. It was a squid.
It was a giant squid.
It's a giant squid, but then it really, really grows on you. And I haven't had seafood since. So, but the other surprising sci-fi films that I love is like a really good sci-fi comedy. I mean, when they're for instance, when Demolition Man came out, it's a film that to this day I absolutely adore, and everything about the film is perfect because it's great social commentary. It's hilarious. It's kind of oddly romantic. It's absurd. It's brilliant.
It doesn't take itself too seriously.
It doesn't, and that was the best sort of sci-fi comedy since I would say Brazil. I mean, hard to call Brazil sci-fi necessarily, but absurdist sort of near future comedy.
Actually, Gilliam is a really interesting person to talk about with surprise and regarding sci-fi, because things like The Time Bandits, which is a kids' film, but it's also, I mean, I always saw that as a child and loved it, but it is many things. It's also a very slapstick comedy in a way, and
in 12 Monkeys, which I mean, La Jetée is possibly the most surprising sci-fi story. But Terry Gilliam really brilliantly adapted it, and it's such a wonderful film, and it again is genre defying, and it's funny and moving and suspenseful, and it has Brad Pitt in his best performance. There's so many great sci-fi movies.
I think when you call a sci-fi interesting or surprising, it really does have the ability. Sci-fi really does have the ability to activate different things in the viewer. If you're watching a drama, there is a formula, like it or not, that's been written since the times of the ancient Greeks or beyond. There are still formulas, but actually, when you place something in an indeterminate time or in the future, you can you can break formula, and I think it's very important for filmmakers to attempt that. I think perhaps every filmmaker should make a sci-fi.
That's why Battlefield Earth is the greatest film ever made.
No, but it does keep us. It does keep us questioning storytelling as a whole, and if there's a formula for that, should there be, or should we keep trying to do things, or are we then, what is the audience's expectation? I think it's good sometimes to play with that and to try and change that.
That's profound, man.